Hi, I'm Michael Mayer. I'm a licensed psychologist and Qigong teacher. I've been asked to present a 15-minute version of a much longer talk I give on body-mind healing psychotherapy. This is part of a chapter in a new book called Holistic Treatment in Mental Health, a handbook of practitioners' perspectives. Okay, so I've been developing body-mind healing psychotherapy for about the last 20 years, and I've taught it at various different universities, like John F. Kennedy University, and I've presented it at the California State Psychological Association, through the Alameda County Psychological Association, at Esalen Institute, and other places like that. Usually I present it in 5-day, weekend, 1-day, 3-hour, and now here we go in 15 minutes. So let's see, what is body-mind healing psychotherapy? It's an integral transpersonal psychotherapy that combines East, West, and indigenous methods of psychological and other kinds of healing. And it has Qigong as one focus to it. Qigong is one of the 5 branches of Chinese medicine. But what we do is we take things from Qigong so that licensed psychologists and mental health workers don't need to learn any Qigong in order to do it. That's through being able to do certain breathing, self-touch methods, and watching certain things that happen at the moment of a felt shift in psychotherapy. So really, body-mind healing psychotherapy wants to create a new origin myth for psychotherapy. You know, many therapists will look through a single lens if they're not integrative, like trained in psychodynamic theory and looking at family of origin issues or behavioral issues or whatever. Body-mind healing psychotherapy creates a mandala. It uses the astrological mandala as a psychotherapeutic meta-system, not in any kind of rigid way, but basically we put all of the systems of psychotherapy around a circle. That way we can combine traditional and alternative methods of psychotherapy and psychological healing, giving them various different places on the map. One essential method that's used is called the River of Life method that borrows from microcosmic orbit breathing. And it's a nice way to help somebody to, in Chinese language, sync your qi. Now, as therapists, we're trained in many different ways of helping somebody to relax. Everyone is state specific. The River of Life goes along with a visualization of having water coming down the central channel in Chinese medicine. And so as you're breathing out with a longer out breath and a longer pause after the exhalation, that activates your parasympathetic nervous system and can help with trauma, anxiety, hypertension, etc. And so this way, the origin myth of psychotherapy isn't necessarily going back to Wilhelm Wundt's laboratory for experimental psychology back in 1879 in Leipzig, Germany, or to psychodynamics or behavioral. All of them are put around a wheel. So that way we have an origin myth that goes back into the pre-modern elements of psychotherapy and combines the modern psychotherapy. And using the River of Life practice, it's a really good experiential method to not just only come down in your body, but also feeling what comes up. And we use Genlin's focusing to do that. So you feel the felt meaning of what's happening. So there are 10 methods in body-mind healing psychotherapy that are some of the major ones that we use. First, we use breath, microcosmic orbit, and hypnosis. We use self-soothing so that when stuff comes up, you can touch your heart. And that way you're touching various acupoints in the center of your heart or in your belly. We use focusing on felt meaning from Genlin's work. We use cognitive restructuring along with a SUD scale so that you think about a belief and then a more truthful and constructive belief. And then when you have that, you pour that through your inner river to see whether you can actually ground and somatically experience the new belief and find a new life stance. So they're transcending and transmuting elements to body-mind healing psychotherapy. The transcending creates a nice altered state through this kind of breathing and visualization. And then you can be using self-touch or whatever to do that. But the working through of whatever it is that comes up is worked through cognitive restructuring, psychodynamic work, behavioral work, cognitive behavioral work, etc. And also there's symbolic process modes of healing in body-mind healing psychotherapy. So in my chapter in the book, I go through a couple of really specific case examples. One with anxiety, where a patient had a panic disorder and was able to use various methods to help her to relax and to sync her chi. But at the same time, you don't really need to be using any words like syncing your chi. You can just feel the energy going down in your body. The arousal level will go down. And then for the transmuting, transcending dialectic, that's a big part of body-mind healing psychotherapy. That concept that I introduced has to do with the fact that sometimes if somebody has hypertension, for example, body-mind healing psychotherapy through various different exercises, including sometimes Qigong, rocking, or self-touch, will help to create an altered state. And I give an example in my article about how at an integrated medical clinic that I co-founded, we had a group of 200 people at one of our meetings, and I was able, with a blood pressure monitor by a local researcher at a hospital, show that what happened was that the person's blood pressure went down from 168 to 128 in about 10 minutes. And I've been, actually 7 minutes, and I've been doing this with many, many people over the years. But what's really important is that when something comes up, that you don't just try to get relaxed, you need to work through the deeper dimension of what's happening. And I give an example of a patient that came in to work with me with hypertension and wanted to learn my Qigong breathing method. And it turned out that he had a lot deeper problems. And as he went into the river of life and focused on what was going on, he discovered that what was at the root of it, his workaholicism and his marriage potentially breaking up and not having time for his kids, was a message from his family when he was younger that basically shamed him for the fact that he got a D on a report card. And they joked around with him and said, you know, don't worry, you'll still be able to be successful. You can be a garbage man and pick up garbage at our house. And that shaming message came up as he focused and rose up from his bodily felt sense. So I give a lot of case examples in my article and in my book about this. And another major component is using the moment of felt shift to help somebody to find a new life stance. So I told the story of one person who was at one of my workshops that I did a private session with, who hadn't seen her father in many years. And she wanted to approach him. She made a posture like this. And this is a posture that's called repulsed monkey in Tai Chi. She'd never seen this. And this is a way to keep somebody away and also to welcome them at the same time. So many postures that arise at a moment of felt shift are very important in body-mind healing psychotherapy and in psychotherapy in general. And without even knowing Qigong or Tai Chi postures, this attention to these kinds of moments of felt shift with somatic postures are really important in relationship to helping somebody to anchor a new life stance. And what I say is that I believe that the training in Tai Chi and Qigong can help to augment that. In addition, we use the mythic journey process, which is kind of like a Jungian active imagination, which has somebody transpose whatever issue they're dealing with and bring it back into an ancient time to create a felt shift and a symbolic process to help in healing. So that's a brief overview of body-mind healing psychotherapy. Each of the components of body-mind healing psychotherapy have been well researched in terms of Genlin's focusing. There's a lot of research on Qigong, cognitive behavioral therapy, Genlin's focusing, etc. But the integration of all of these methods together hasn't had enough funding in terms of really creating robust research designs for this. As well as in terms of the ethics of this, it's very important whenever you're doing any somatic psychotherapy to basically be able to find a place where you're trained well enough to know about these somatic methods and have and what can arise from the unconscious and how to deal with that. Most therapists are trained in that kind of thing. And also it's important to be able to have, if you're going to do Qigong things, to have some training in that. So finally, what I'd like to say is a caption that's on my book that says that by not including ancient sacred wisdom traditions in our practice of healing and psychotherapy, we commit a crime analogous to our culture's trampling over the Native Americans. We get to occupy the land, but we lose the sacred knowledge of how to be with its treasures. So body-mind healing psychotherapy develops this integral transpersonal method using ancient wisdom traditions as well as traditional methods to help to create a pathway in the deep and broad field of psychotherapy. I hope you'll check out my website, bodymindhealing.com, or my book, Body-Mind Healing Psychotherapy, and feel free to email me to ask any questions at drmichael@bodymindhealing.com. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you pick up the edited book, Holistic Treatment in Mental Health, where this is a chapter of it where you can get a little bit deeper of a brief overview. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.